Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, today we're not going to talk about anything specific to self-publishing, but we are going to talk about something that can help you with author branding, and of course, that is social media. And the social media that we're going to specifically focus on today is TikTok. Now, what exactly is TikTok? It is a social media platform, and it's made up of short videos that are anywhere from 15 to 60 seconds long. And it's really an app that started, I'm in the United States, and this really has more of a following in Asia than it does in the United States. In fact, in 2018, I saw a report that it has been downloaded, the TikTok app has been downloaded 1 billion times. That's with a B. So it has a lot of people already on the network. However, they don't have a lot of dominance here in the United States. So in the United States, they have about maybe 27 million people on TikTok. So it's just making its way to the United States from Asia. And most of the users, from what I understand, are in China or Asia. So in terms of look and feel, it's very similar to Snapchat and Instagram stories, which are also short videos that are vertically oriented. But where it departs from Snapchat and Instagram stories is that it doesn't disappear after 24 hours. So it makes it more like YouTube. And we're going to talk about some of the comparisons of TikTok and other social networks as we go along in this podcast. But it's a pretty interesting platform. And not only are the users dominating in the Asian region, it's really dominated by young audience members. So most of them are Generation Z, which is, as of this recording, are about in their teens. Some of them might skew a little younger, a little older, but it has a very young audience. Now, one of the things that makes it a little bit, it's similar to Instagram and Facebook and all of those, where it's dominated or run by an algorithm. So it's basically run by robots. But even more so than those other platforms, here's where it's different and where it's really, really interesting. You know, when you get on Facebook or Instagram or any Snapchat, any of those social networks, you have to search out other users or friends that you know or interesting people to follow. That's a lot of work. But what TikTok does is they start analyzing your behavior on the app, and then they show you people or the work of people, videos that they think you will like, and they'll show you material from other users that they think you might want to follow. So that's a really cool feature. And as a new user, I went on it cold. Now you have to remember that I'm a late era baby boomer. So I'm a little bit older than the target audience for TikTok. Yeah, I could probably be their grandparent. But it's I didn't really know who to follow. I mean, it was just a cacophonous stream of stuff. And so once it started analyzing some of the videos that I found through searching through the featured videos in categories, then it started understanding what I like, and then it started showing me interesting people to follow. So that was a real time saver for me because I don't know anybody on TikTok. I mean, I literally knew no one on TikTok when I got on. So, and now I'm, following some people, and so it's pretty interesting. And of course, as with all social networks these days, there's always the concern about underage users and creepy people and privacy, all the usual stuff. But we hope that the algorithm and robots will figure out how to manage some of that in the future. And also like Instagram stories and Twitter, again, two very short content length networks. It's driven by hashtags. Now, the hashtags are really limited though, because if you go on Instagram stories, you can upload up to like 30 hashtags on each of your posts in the standard feed posts. You ain't doing that on TikTok. You have 100 characters for the caption for your video. So if you need to explain a little bit about your video and put in a couple of hashtags, that character limit gets washed up in a hurry. And I am so glad for that because have you seen some of some of the stuff on Instagram makes me nuts. It's like hashtag, 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 and it's just crazy. And of course, there's always strange users on these networks that think they can game the system. Now, there's two different parts of the welcome screen when you come on TikTok. There's the following, which are people you have intentionally followed. And then there's the For You feed. Now, the For You feed is what TikTok and its robots have determined are relevant or interesting videos for you. Now, some of these people think, that if they put a hashtag For You page or FYP For You page or For You or things like that as a hashtag in their caption, that automatically TikTok's going to say, oh, let's put this in somebody's For You page. Doesn't work like that. I think the robots are a little more sophisticated than that. They're not just looking at hashtags, they're looking at all kinds of stuff because I've noticed when I look at one type of video, even if it's all in the same category, some of the same subjects within that category will be shown to me like quickly after I view one of those videos. So, and like it. Maybe if I like a certain type of video, then it'll show me more of that. So it's not just looking at the hashtags, it's looking at the actual content itself, and it's pretty sophisticated. So that's really cool. The one thing that you would probably question is, because this is video, is it like YouTube? Is it like IGTV? Now, because of their vertical orientation, it can be kind of like IGTV, I guess you could say, but not really, because I just don't see it in the same pool as IGTV. But I do see TikTok as a potential rival or very similar network to YouTube. And the reason I say that is because YouTube is a lot of entertainment and how-to videos and information and things like that. TikTok's very like that, very much like that, because it's all in categories. So it's not like, oh, well, here's a random user for you that you might find on like Facebook or Instagram. It is categorized very similarly to YouTube, only it's shorter than YouTube videos. But it is all categorized, and you can, select categories to view, and you can use hashtags for various categories to make sure that your videos start showing up in that. So it's wow, it's really interesting from that standpoint as well, because the videos don't disappear like they do on Snapchat or Instagram stories. it is also like YouTube in that it becomes like an archive of video material. Now, I think TikTok is better than Snapchat and Instagram in some ways. I really, really, really wanted to like Snapchat. I really did. I thought it was a really cool concept with short videos that disappear after 24 hours. I mean, that makes it really dynamic and it makes it light. And so I really, really wanted to like Snapchat, but I really had a hard time finding users on Snapchat. One, because most of my peers or similar age peers are not on it. And I even let, Snapchat try and find my friends and whatnot, and there weren't very many. And then when you're on Snapchat, you have to go by usernames, and didn't tell them about the real name, and then it would have these cartoon avatars, and I couldn't tell if that was my friend or not my. Ugh. So you really had to know who you were connecting with, as you do on some of these other social networks. So I just never, I really loved the Snapchat interface and what you could do with it, filters and everything. I thought it was really cool from that standpoint, but I just had a super hard time and I just gave up with it. Again, I talked about Instagram. Some of these people just load up their feed posts with hashtags and like blog length material and stuff like that. And it's, I just want that really slows down my feed. I really want to just see the picture, just a quick statement about what it is or why it's important and scroll on. So that's why I think I like TikTok a little bit better. So, what is on TikTok? We talked about some of the categories of material that's on there. It's how to, it is just all kinds of different things like that. But it's less of here's what's happening to me now, as you would have on some of the social networks. And it's here's more about me, or watch me do this, or here's something interesting for you to watch, very similar to what you would find on YouTube. Some of the categories on TikTok are like food, beauty and style, life hacks, animals, which I love. The dog videos are hilarious. Gaming, fitness, art, comedy, and you will find one that says oddly satisfied. You'll probably say, what is oddly satisfied? Well, a lot of them are what I would call ASMR. Now, ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Basically, it's a feeling of relaxation that comes after you view or consume certain types of content. And it's not overly stimulating, it's relaxing and enjoyable. Some people have likened it to watching painter Bob Ross. So it's those kind of videos. You'll see on TikTok, there's some where they just show like paint being put on canvas, and so it's kind of relaxing and fun. There's a lot of fun things on TikTok, and there's a lot of music everywhere. Now, for those of you who don't know, you might have been aware of a social network called music.ly. Now, that was also dominated by Gen Z, kind of young audience. And it was people lip syncing or singing or dancing, it all was centered around music. Now, TikTok launched in China in 2012, and in 2017, the company that owns TikTok bought music.ly and merged it in with TikTok. So there's still a very heavy music orientation. You can add music to your TikTok videos, and they have like a library of music that you can add. And so you don't have to be a music or audio pro to add a background track to your little videos. One of the other things you'll see a lot of is duets on TikTok, where it's sort of like Instagram Live in a way, where you can add friends to your Instagram Live. It's kind of like that with duets. So you get two users get together and do, like either singing or they just talk to their audience or things like that, so they can share each other's audiences. So it's kind of cool, and it's kind of like Instagram Live. And then one of the things that I have found challenging with TikTok is the content creation. You think, well, it's a 15 to 60-second video. Okay, great. If you look at some of the other content on TikTok, some of it is really, really highly produced. I mean, some of these people really get into it. I am telling you, there is, professional production level video on TikTok. There's multiple camera angles and pro audio and the slick editing and oh my goodness. I mean, I don't know how they do. I mean, I've been playing around with it and it took me like an hour to figure out like some of it. I feel so stupid, I should be able to do this stuff, but you have to learn the interface and there is a ton of tools, a ton of video editing tools on TikTok, way more than you would find on like Instagram stories filters and all of it, way more. I mean, slow-mo and colors and just even looking at it all will take you some time. So if you get on it as an older person like me, it takes some time to just experiment with it. And the good thing, what I really, really, really like about TikTok is that if you do have a video that you want to do a little more editing on, you can put it in drafts. You can't really do that on Instagram stories. So I like it from that standpoint too. So is TikTok good for your small business or your author business? Well, I think the jury's still out on that one. Some digital marketing experts are like, well, it's, not at scale in the United States. So, adopt a wait and see attitude about it. And then there's others who say, you better jump on early, the early adopter level. So which is it? Well, you really have to analyze your market. If you're wanting to reach out to a younger audience now or in the future, it might be worth investigating and figuring out if this is for you, because the popularity of these short video, vertically oriented platforms, TikTok, Instagram Stories, Snapchat, they're all kind of in that same grouping. And so it doesn't hurt to learn it, but it may take you a while. And just like any other platform, for whether you're an author or a small business, it is going to take a long time. And from my experience so far, oh my goodness, even with the help of the robots to help me find videos and find other users and other users to find me, it is a long haul for a very short video platform. And so it will take some time and experimentation. In terms of advertising, at this point in time, it's just not there because it's really geared for big mega advertisers. I think one of them said I saw a report that said ads are like $10 an impression. That is crazy expensive with a like $6,000 minimum ad spend. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. This ain't no Facebook ad platform. And one of them, if you want the big ones where, they splash it to a lot of their users, it's like $50,000 a day. Yeah, okay. Advertising on TikTok is probably not going to be an option for a lot of small businesses or authors. But organic business building on TikTok will be. So, and you have to understand, decide what you're going to do. Again, I think it's very similar to YouTube. So if you are doing material on YouTube, how-tos, storytelling, those kinds of things, it would probably be good to find a way to either take snippets of that or do special content that is just short little snippets for TikTok as an author. Don't expect results right away, just like with anything. But I think it's worth investigating. I like those short platforms. I used to be a huge Twitter user back in the day. because it was, I mean, from like, let's say 2009 to 2013 or so. I mean, I was getting business from it. It was just amazing. And then it just like started to decline for me, became more of a news feed, and that's how I use that these days. I like Instagram stories and Instagram in general. And like I said, I would have liked Snapchat, but I just found it too hard. But so I'm kind of enjoying this whole little TikTok experiment, and I hope you'll join me on it. Just like on Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Heidi Thorne on TikTok. So if you want to follow me there, that would be great. And then I'll see that you just like on Instagram, where you get notices about so and so is following you. It's very similar on TikTok. So I'll see that you've joined, and then we can share this experience together. Now, I hope you have found this mini introduction to TikTok helpful in deciding whether you want to move forward with that. And if you did find it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would rate and review The Heidi Thorne Show on Apple Podcasts. And while you're on Apple Podcast, don't forget to subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show so you don't miss an episode. And if you're not on Apple Podcast for the audio podcast, that's fine. I'm on Stitcher and Podbean. You can listen to me on your Alexa with the AnyPod skill. And the full video podcast is available on YouTube, not on TikTok, but on YouTube. And you just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel to get all the video podcasts. As well, I would appreciate it if you would share the Heidi Thorne Show with your friends and followers on social media. And my books are available on Amazon. You just have to search for my Heidi Thorne author page, and all of the official editions of my books are right there. If you would like to connect with me, my website is simply HeidiThorne.com. And while you're on my website, you'll see a link in the navigation for newsletter. Sign up for that, and then you'll get alerts about new podcasts, new blogs, all those kinds of things. You'll get those alerts. Usually it's only once a week, so I'm not going to be loading up your inbox, but I'd love to have you join my email list. So look for the newsletter link on my HeidiThorne.com website. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. And in the meantime, have a great day.